I don't really know my process for creating character. I just know I have to care a great deal about them and sleep with them, eat with them, think with them, feel with them. I'm not so good at it if I'm not invested in it. That's a professional side, a professional nature and discipline I think I don't have at this age. But if I care about the characters, get in, that's where I think those details kind of accrue. I think you're looking for your own humanity.
One of my favorite writing tips for screen is to always look at your main character's goal or motivation through the story. And a really good way to make this clear on screen is to find a goal for your character and break it down into 3 parts. Their tangible want, that's sort of driving them through the thing, and that's the thing they're going after. You know, in your typical love story, you have your boy meets girl, so the boy wants the girl. It's very tangible. If the boy gets the girl during the film, we'll see that happen. If he doesn't get the girl, if he fails, we'll also see that happen. But Hart suggested that underneath that is an underlying desire that's actually bigger than the tangible thing. Why does the boy want the girl? Maybe the boy wants to experience true love and connection and intimacy, and those things are a little harder to pin down. It's not as tangible as the concrete thing, the girl, but it's still fueling the goal. And then below that, there's a thing called a need. What does that character need in order to get their goal? And the character themselves probably doesn't know what that thing is. That's something that you, the screenwriter, know. And he said to imagine yourself as the screenwriter waving your finger at the character. So we have this boy who needs a girl. We have the boy who desires true love. But maybe that boy needs to grow up first before he can achieve that goal.
Character is a very interesting category when you get to film, because there's a kind of desire, I think, on all our parts when we hit these kinds of dramatic media, or perhaps it relates to all written media. There's a desire to create these very rich, full, detailed characters. But the interesting thing about film characters is they're often not very rich, full, detailed characters. I mean, they certainly can be. You know, Citizen Kane is certainly a rich, full, detailed character. But all those characters that Clint Eastwood plays in Westerns are not. They're characters who are defined almost by absence of, or by maybe 4 or 5 telling details, and that's about it. So you have to ask yourself, well, which is more effective in film? And my sense is that the less said, the better, to a large extent. That somehow character in film, particularly protagonists, particularly main characters, need to create space for us to inhabit. The more detailed that character becomes, the more worked out, sometimes the less easy it is for us to see them as anything but themselves, you know, which I don't think is the way we watch. I think we watch in a way which demands identification, so that we look for those places that we can kind of fill in a psychic kind of way.
For me, creating characters, on the page, for creating characters, introducing characters in a script involves, for me, some kind of moment of action where they're performing an action and you see their character, or they deliver a line of dialogue and you immediately see who this person is and you understand who they are.
I have 2 little tricks I use when I'm creating a character. The first is I think about my dream cast. So I think about who would play this person. You know, we all play that game, who would play you in the movie of your life? Well, I do that with my new characters. You know, if I think, well, this character should be played by Drew Barrymore, that's very different from this character should be played by, you know, Catherine Zeta-Jones. So I can think about a real human being and how they move and how they talk. And it's never exact, but it really does help me imagine this as a real being. With a voice and with attitudes and things like that. So that helps me a lot. And then I also usually start a brand new document and I start a monologue for this character and I let them talk. And the whole idea for me is to be creating this big chunk of dialogue that is not supposed to be used in the script at all. It's just supposed to let them talk to me. So, you know, it helps me figure out what their voice is, their kind of mannerisms as they talk. But it also, you know, these monologues kind of naturally tend toward some kind of thing they're interested in or obsessed with or pissed off about or whatever it is. And that helps me get to know the character as well. So it's kind of a way of interviewing them without asking them questions. I just let them, you know, go off and see what it is they go off about. Well, those are my two little tricks.
As far as creating characters on a more macro sense when you're coming together, I don't know, for me that's kind of a nebulous thing where it's if it's a thriller or a genre piece, you understand that there's going to be the hard-boiled detective and she could be a woman, you know, which would be interesting, or again subverting what you expect, or but those genre rules sort of dictate the type of, you know, characters that are going to people that world. As far as an art house film, for me, that's a nebulous thing that they just start. It's like grabbing them out of the ether, and they just come almost fully formed, and then you need to translate that onto the page.
So I'm kind of on the fence about character. You know, I can think of a lot of really great characters who are highly detailed characters, but I find quite often that I am drawn, and that audiences are drawn to characters who are much less detailed. Just quickly around that, I'm not sure that that means when you're making a less detailed character that you can do less work. I mean, you may well have to know every bit as much about that character, except make more stringent choices about what you're actually going to share.